So we bring in my great friend Robert O'Brien, distinguished former national security director, who, as part of the firm O'Brien and Kudlow, awakened America to the investor protection and national security threats facing American investors in Chinese companies. So, first of all, Robert, welcome back. And I want to just ask this little piece of gossip. Apparently, you are one of the moderators for tomorrow's town hall with the recall gubernatorial candidates going to be down in Orange County. And I just wonder if you want to bring in this topic of the perils of China investing, because it's going to be a big state issue. Welcome, Robert. And will you put these guys, will you put them under the gun?
Well, thanks, Larry. It's great to be back with you. And you and I were way ahead of this. We raised it last year and talked about the risk of investing in China to our retirees for the federal thrift savings plan. And we saw it. We saw this happening. We sent a letter to Gene Scalia, and we made some progress to protect the investments of our federal retirees. But this is a real problem. As far as the debate at the Nixon Library tomorrow, I don't want to give away my questions, but I think it's fair that the candidates ought to know they should be prepared to respond on this issue of Chinese investment by our retirement plans. I mean, this is hard-earned money from our state and federal retirees, and they don't want to go have it put into DD or TAL or New Oriental, these companies that are just tanking on the stock exchange because Xi Jinping woke up and had a bad morning and decided he didn't like the oligarchs that ran those companies.
You know, it's so true. There's no way of telling, but you're going to be with the California gubernatorial candidates for the recall stuff. But this is a national issue, of course. All the big states, for example, maybe most of the states in general, but certainly the pension funds of the big states and a lot of municipalities are invested in China. It was very fashionable, It was very a la mode. It was very voguish to do so, almost as much as environment and social governance, ESG investing. Now, when you and I talked about investor protection because the Chinese companies didn't meet American accounting standards, right, nor did they meet national security standards. In some cases, these investments were funding military buildups. We didn't even think about this Xi crackdown, which is arbitrary. And that's a whole new element of uncertainty. And I would think, Robert, repels investors. I mean, if they're smart, if they have a brain, they'll stay out of China, won't they?
Well, there was this conceit for many years, Larry, that China, as it became richer, it would become more democratic, it would become more like us. And, it's the second largest economy in the world. It's the largest population in the world. And the idea was, hey, if I can sell a soft drink to every person in China, or I can sell a hamburger to every person in China, there's going to be a lot of money to be made. But the reality is China didn't become more like us. They became more authoritarian. There's a genocide taking place in Xinjiang. Hong Kong democracy has been destroyed there. There's bullying of Taiwan. The Chinese have tried to take over an entire swath of the Pacific Ocean called the South China Sea. And so I think investors are kind of looking at this situation and go, wait a minute, they didn't become like us, and it's pretty risky. And now you've got a Putin-style crackdown, just like Putin saw his oligarchs getting too powerful about a decade ago and started taking the oligarchs out. You now have Xi looking at these very wealthy Chinese tech guys who made a lot of money on IPOs and deciding they're getting too big for their britches, and he's taking down their companies. And so it's very risky to put American retirement money or put mutual fund money into China. It's not good for our national security, but it's also risky for the investors.
I think it's interesting, Robert, that while you've seen the demise of China investing, I mean, some of these iShare funds are down 15 to 20% in the last few months. The Wall Street Journal report estimated a $400 billion loss to pension fund investors, to every investors. But while that's been happening, the rest of the market's done fine. Remember, there was an argument against us that said we can't do this because it'll upset the stock market. Well, it upset the China area of the stock market, which is really just a small. The rest of the market's done fine. I find that very interesting.
Well, I think it wasn't that it was going to upset the market. It was going to upset the big Wall Street firms that were making a lot of money on fees from doing these deals and these IPOs for the Chinese companies. And we ought to be making our fees and IPOs off American companies and not off Chinese companies, especially those that threaten our national security. There's a lot of money for the Wall Street firms to make with American manufacturers, American innovators, new American companies. we got to focus on that and not on these risky Chinese companies. They're going to have their whole net worth wiped away with one decree by Xi Jinping and by Chairman Xi in China.
You know, it'd be nice, by the way, if our corporate tax rate was under China's. If they go to even 28%, you got to add 4 points for state and federal. That would be 32%. We'd be way above China's. China's at 25%, and it's all federal. But I digress. I want you to listen to this, Robert O'Brien. Jamie Dimon, CEO of J.P. Morgan, of course, was on Maria Bartiromo's show. And here's a clip that I want you to hear and then comment on, please.
Do you really believe J.P. Morgan's going to be in charge of J.P. Morgan China?
Yes.
You do?
I do.
You think you're going to be able to make money and take it out of China?
Data sharing is a real issue, but we do not share our data with the Chinese government.
So, Robert O'Brien, do you really believe that J.P. Morgan will be in charge of J.P. Morgan in China?
No one's in charge of anything in China except for the Communist Party of China. They run everything, right. and Jamie Dimon, I don't think would say that privately in China if he went over there and took a stand and said we're not going to share this data with you. He wouldn't leave China until the data was shared, and so anyone who says that they're in charge of their assets or their company in China they may want to believe it, but it's a bit of a fairy tale.
So that is apocryphal, I think, for all companies, is it not? Isn't that something that American business people had really better get their arms around and be realistic? How Xi is trying to stop free enterprise in China?
Well, look, you've got to understand that there may be a return on the investment, but it's a high-risk investment to go into China because your capital, your manufacturing plant, whatever it is that you put into China could get wiped out on a moment's notice at the Chinese Communist Party's decree. I mean, there's no rule of law. There's no appeal from that. We don't have a bilateral investment treaty with China. You can't take them to an ICSID arbitration to say my property's been nationalized. You have no recourse. So. And the Chinese national security laws are so stringent that no one, not even Apple, can stand up to them, and no one will stand up to them. And when they start putting employees in jail or American business people are denied exit visas to leave China, very quickly those things get sorted out, and they always get sorted out in favor of the Communist Party of China. And that's just how it is. You just have to understand that going in. So to claim that J.P. Morgan China is going to operate like J.P. Morgan here, where we have the rule of law and they can call Sullivan and Cromwell or one of their Cravath if their offices are raided by the Chinese Communist Party. That's just not how it works there.
Well, I thought, Jamie Dimon is a good man, but he answered Maria a little too quickly and a little too defensively. So I think in his heart of hearts, he knows the truth that you are saying. So now you're going to be the moderator for this thing in Orange County? You'd be a star moderator. You've had all this experience on the Kudlow show.
Well, I'm not Larry Kudlow, but Hugh Hewitt is the moderator, and two of the local Fox affiliate anchors. I'm just the fourth wheel along for the ride, but I'll ask a couple of questions and have some fun.
Well, Hugh Hewitt is an old friend and a very good man. Robert O'Brien, terrific stuff, and put those California candidates on the hot seat. Thanks for coming on tonight. Appreciate it very much.